Hello, my name is Ian Moore. This is my capstone project that I did for professional nursing synthesis. Here is my driver's license telling you exactly who I am. And let's get into it. So when I was looking around for a potential mentor when I was doing this project, it's kind of nice because here in Utah, it's a very small nursing community, and I know a lot of people that know a lot of people. So I chose someone who actually doesn't even work in my hospital that I work at. She actually works at Primary Children's with pediatric stuff. So her name is Kylie. She is an educator up in the CICU up at Primaries. She's been a nurse for 8 years, and 3 of those she's been part of leadership. She was in charge of engagement for a while, and now she's been doing educator for a little over a year. With her education leadership role, she does a lot of teaching. She teaches in the sim lab for new grads, for nurses up in the CICU, as well as ER and floor nurses. She also helps run mock codes up there, which is mandatory for a lot of ICUs and other places like that. And then she's also in charge of a lot of skills up there. They use pacers up there. They have a lot of devices up there that are super cool. And she is in charge of keeping everybody up to date on all the brand new practices and what they do. So the reason I chose her is because she has a bunch of experience and knowledge, and she really likes to teach other people, which is cool. I felt like it would be a very good fit. And the other reason I kind of chose her is because I've been working with adults for almost 16 years now. I have never worked with kids whatsoever, so I thought it'd be kind of interesting to dive into pediatric a little bit and expand my horizons. So for my project, she had a couple of different things she was working on, but the one that I really thought would be kind of cool is helping her out in the simulation lab. So she got the okay from a couple of other educators, and they were going to allow me to make a couple of slides and actually be there on the day of presentation and help actually teach the class and participate in the class. So for all the things that I had to do to make slides and all that, I completed my research on pediatric sepsis and the importance of simulation and how it helps out education. I feel like a lot of the times we just look at PowerPoints and just read things over and over again, but with simulation, it really locks it down and really makes it connect, to the real world. And then the other thing that I really just wanted to see is how primary children's sepsis protocol matched up with all the other protocols that they have throughout the United States and actually in some different countries. So for the actual presentation, I did make some slides for her, which she used some of them. Obviously, there's a lot of other things they have to hit when it comes to their teaching up there, so there's other things that they have to put on there. So I have a few slides in the actual presentation that they did up there. And I got to help in the actual simulation lab. I got to be the patient for one of the things, and then got to be there while they were teaching, and I got to present a couple of my slides. So that was a very good learning opportunity for me. So the reason that they do things like simulation up at primaries, and I know throughout IHC, is simulation can be beneficial to all types of situations. We have one that had to do with drug overdoses that I've had to participate in, and honestly, it really concretes it into your head. The other reasons they keep doing these simulation labs are it's less stressful when you're working with a mannequin than when it happens in real life and you're seeing it for the very first time. And the other thing about simulation is some of the resources that I found have been found that it is more effective when it comes to recalling the information rather than just reading it like I was talking about earlier, just on a bunch of notes or in a PowerPoint. So another benefit of initiating the sepsis protocol, you can see in 2007, they had a very serious safety event, which usually means it was either a death or a close to death. So they started the protocol, and then 10 years later, PICU and SICU adapted the protocol as well. 2 years later, the hospital decided they all need to get on the same protocol and make sure that they are all doing the exact same thing to help with outcomes. So as you can see, from 2007 to now, the morbidity and mortality has decreased from 8% to less than 2%. So obviously the teaching of the sepsis protocol has helped out a lot with outcomes. So for my practicum goals, I think education is the biggest thing. It's very important, obviously, to stay up to date on all the new evidence-based practices and what's going on out there, and what people are finding works and what doesn't work every day and every year, and putting new papers out. So education-wise, I think this hits it right on the head. Going in there and helping teach this simulation lab taught me a lot as well about what I didn't know. And I think that's one thing as a nurse that we all should remember, is that you don't know what you don't know until you see it, which is very often for me. The other thing I wanted to hit with my goals is my research and finding a bunch of evidence-based practices on pediatric sepsis and the benefits of the simulation lab. I think I've really done a lot of research on it, and I feel very confident in it. And the other thing is the nurse leadership roles. Obviously, educator, she's a very good leadership role that is shaping some of the newer nurses and helping them learn and grow, even some of the ones that have been there forever, and keeping them up to date on what the newest studies are and saying what helps best. So for the analysis, this is everything that I've done from the beginning of the semester till the end of the semester. Obviously, one of the biggest and longest things it took was the research on the pediatric sepsis and the simulations and the benefits of simulations. That was all done at home. I think the research review and everything just took such a long time, and I learned so much through actually doing my own research and figuring things out by myself, which was very helpful. With Kylie, it was super nice because IHC uses this Teams app, and so she was able to meet me on Teams if I wasn't available to drive into Salt Lake that day. It's like an hour away from me. So she was able to meet with me on Teams a couple of times, and then I was able to go in there and actually physically meet with her a couple of times. But she also invited me to 2 different bigger meetings. One was just with educators throughout the IHC board or whatever, and the other one was the meeting with the educator and the simulation lab people and what they needed and what else they needed to have ready for them and what to do next. Obviously, the other thing that took some time was creating a PowerPoint slide, not just the presentation. I mean, they weren't going to be able to use my complete presentation since they have to hit all these different notes and keep on track with what their values are and all that stuff up at with IHC. So they used some of my slides, but not all of them. And then I think the biggest and scariest thing for me to do was actually help present some of my slides in the simulation lab in front of 6 nurses who knew a lot more about pediatric stuff than I did, and there was Kylie and then another educator that was helping with the simulation. The nice thing was that they let me be part of the simulation and just be an actor in the background, just to give them a little more stress through it, like there's an actual person there, not just a mannequin. And then the other thing that was super nice, and I hope most helpful for me, was the debriefing after the end of simulation. Just hearing what people had to say about what they already knew about sepsis, and about what they knew and what they didn't know, and what should become first and what isn't first. And so that was also very enlightening. The hardest thing for me is going to be getting feedback on that, because they have a post-survey thing for IHC that they have to all do, and that will not be back until they're done with all of these classes, which is going to be done after this class is all done. But everybody in the debriefing said they were very happy, felt that they learned a lot, and it was just beneficial to them. So for sure, whenever you have any kind of project, there's going to be difficulties. I think one of my biggest things was working with the pediatric population. Some of the numbers they have for these kids are insane. They're just so foreign to me working with the adult population, and some of the obviously the medications and things are just non-existent when you're talking about an adult, but it's a lot for a kid. So that was a very big change for me to learn. Um, Also, the simulation lab. I knew it was going to be stressful. I hate talking in front of people. Everybody does. But especially presenting to people that already know a lot about pediatric and about sepsis. The majority of these people have already been working with pediatric for a while. So that was very stressful to have to actually participate and speak up and try to teach everybody what I was, just learning for the very first time. Meetings with Kylie, I didn't really have to change anything. Like I said, using Teams is super easy, especially when I live an hour away and I'm not in Salt Lake all the time. So when I was down there and she was available, she had a lot of open hours that she was able to help me and just meet with me. And like I said, there was no scheduling issues because her schedule was pretty wide open and mine was just flexible enough to get done whatever I needed to get done. So for the evaluation of it, I think the biggest thing was going to be getting those polls back and seeing how the nurses responded to the classes and how they felt about the whole entire class itself. But in my eyes, I did all my research. I did educating, and I participated in leadership quite a bit, which was very beneficial to me and helpful. Like I said, this sepsis in kids can happen at any part of a hospital stay, or even like the clinics can see it once in a while, which is pretty interesting when they have to send them straight up to the ER. But everybody needs to know about sepsis who works in the hospital, especially with peds, because they can deteriorate so fast. The other thing that I think is that shows that I proved or completed my goals was that simulations are very helpful with the retention of the information that they learn, and not just reading something over and over again. Being part of it, getting hands-on with the drugs, with the fluids, what to do step by step, and getting through those are very helpful and can help everybody learn. So how has this project affected me? I always like teaching. I always like to take the capstone students and the nursing students. I always like teaching with things that I know about. But I hate doing it in big groups. I don't like talking in front of a bunch of people. I just don't have that kind of confidence yet. But after all this, I did gain a lot of respect for leadership. I know when you're just doing, your basic minimum, just going to work, doing your patient care, and then going home after and not worrying about it is very nice. But at the same time, I never realized how much extra time these leadership roles are actually putting in. So that gave me a whole new perspective of what they're actually doing and all the hoops they have to jump through to make it possible to do these kind of teachings and simulations for us. And then I feel like my leadership skills have improved because I kind of branched out and wanted to try something other than just adults and learn about something else. And then the fact that I was able to just get the research done and actually help out a little bit, I felt like I completed all my tasks, and I felt like my leadership skills have really improved. So, in conclusion, I felt like this project went really, really well. My mentor was awesome. She helped me out. She kept me on task, and she really helped me out in the simulation lab when there was questions I just couldn't answer because they just kept going further and further of what I actually knew. But overall, I think that the teaching strategies with the simulation lab are amazing. I think that more people need to get in on them and just participate in them, even if it's not for your not for your job. I learned so much just doing this little one, and it's super cool. So I think that's one thing I'm going to leave with and tell everybody with. I think that we get pretty compliant, and we get very comfortable with the patients that we take care of all the time. And after this project, I think I'm going to keep doing research, keep learning, and not just stick with one specialty. I want to learn more about everything, not just this one little group of people. There's a whole lot of things to learn out there. So thank you for your time, and I appreciate it.